Welcome to our heart medicine class. It's time for us to practice. In honor of everyone, I have this cute new heart background, and I just really want to invite all of you into this time together. I know how we have all been going through so many things. It's a new year. I know that where I am in Atlanta, there's about to be a snowstorm. So that's where I am live. You know, the weather, everything's changing, but here we are together. Every Tuesday night, we do the metta practice, and we focus on the 4 heart qualities of love, of joy, of equanimity, and we focus on compassion. And this really is what heals us. And I just love teaching this with you all. I love practicing with you. It's such a powerful, it seems like a subtle practice, but it has very powerful ripples, and this is why we do it, is to open our hearts. So sometimes you might come to this evening on Tuesdays feeling emotions, or however you are, whatever state you're in. I just really welcome you. It's our time to really focus on this because there's a lot going on in the collective. It can sometimes feel that the heart, like we're losing, right? Or something like that, or just like, oh no, is love gonna win? Will goodness prevail, right? It feels like so much delusion. But we know that from the highest perspective, that only love and compassion last. Everything else built on greed, hatred, and delusion will eventually collapse. So this class is meant to inspire you, nourish you, and also to motivate you to not only practice during this time, but practice on your own as well, as much as possible. I have been doing so much compassion practice this last week for myself, for others, and I'll share some of that with you all, just some of these things that I've been thinking about around compassion that can inspire us. So this is true medicine, and with all your medicine, you're gonna have to put a little work in. We're gonna do a 30-minute sit. For some of you, that might be like, oh my God, that's eternity, right? But we really want to do the practice. So I'm gonna ask you in a moment, I'm just gonna give us some of the reminders about the practice again, and just welcoming people who are coming on. Welcome wherever you are, and maybe you wanna say hi in the chat. Put where you're coming in from. I just want to say hi. I see some of our good friends on here. I see Robert, yay, from Minnesota, who's always here with us. I see Manny, and we want to thank Baba for always helping with our class. I see Tony, and so I just want to send my love to all of you wherever you're coming in from. I see Berkeley. I see yeah, more than a few people from Madison. Yay, Missouri. And I know it can be cold outside. We're in a cold spell, but when the heart's warm, we're going to heat up all these good things that we have going on. So welcome all of you. Yay, Marin, Canada. Hi, Debs. And just welcome all of you and those who are also entering. So a reminder about some of the basics again about the practice, okay? We are focusing on yourself. This is very important. We'll be sending it out toward the end of the practice, all beings, but during this period, I want you to focus on working with your own heart, right? This is a time where we need the medicine. We are the collective. So you doing it for yourself is also doing it for all beings. Right? The more you heal your heart, guess what? You heal mine, right? The more you love you, you're going to automatically love me, right? It's just, this is how it works. So as we focus on ourselves, really, really just putting that effort into just working with yourself. That is the most powerful practice that we can do right now, is loving ourselves. So the metta practice, again, it's a Buddhist practice, but it has versions in every tradition. but it's a visualization. And then we offer these 4 phrases over and over. Okay. And so Baba just posted them. There's 4 phrases that we say again and again. We say, may I be happy and peaceful. And we do this while we're visualizing ourselves as best you can. Imagine you're looking in a mirror, or if there's, you could even put a photo somewhere. You can imagine yourself as a young child. You can imagine yourself right now. We want to do this practice in a way where it's easy to access the feeling of kindness for ourselves. Okay, so maybe love feels like too much. Friendliness. Can we spend this next 30 minutes being friendly to ourselves? That's kind of radical, right? We want to be friendly. We don't, this is an antidote to fear and hatred, right? This is key. With so much fear and hatred in the collective, it's like we're swimming so hard, right? Not to get swept downstream into that, all of those emotions and fear and people doing things to other people, right? But we come back to, may I be happy and peaceful. That's the first phrase that we work with. And when you see yourself, when you think about it, everything we do is for happiness, even misguided attempts, right? In some way we're looking for happiness and peace. So imagining yourself, may I be happy and peaceful. We say, may I be safe and protected. Okay, this is another one that we work with, right? May I be safe and protected, because we love and we protect those that we love, right? If I had animals and children, all that, we protect those, and elders, right? I'm very protective over those that I love. So we envision ourselves and we say that, may I be safe, may I be protected, may I be healthy and strong, right? Because when the body is healthy and well, this gives us tremendous joy, right? And also when we have people we love, we want them to be healthy and strong. First thing I ask my elder teachers, who are all in their 80s now, are you healthy? Are you strong? And when they say yes, I feel so happy. Like, yes. Even though we know it's impermanent, but in this moment, just that wish, may all beings be healthy, free from sickness, right? Suffering. And that goes for ourselves. And then the last phrase we say is, may I live with ease and joy and well-being, right? And we say this, everyone, to the present moment, however life is for you right now, may I live with ease, right? And joy and well-being. And many of us are experiencing the road of trials. I know I am. But it's like, can I be in the joy, even embracing what could feel like the dark night or chaos or change, So we're inclining the mind toward love. Okay, so as you do the phrases, the mind will wander. What am I going to do later? Oh, 1,000 times. Keep coming back to the visualization of yourself, your beautiful self, and then the phrases. Okay, so remember, I have Kuan Yin here on my left, and then I have the Buddha of compassion here on my right, and Harriet Tubman, right? So these are some beautiful guides, right? I'm trying to evoke their spirit through us out into the collective, right? We want to send this, as you experience this, it goes out. So we have some backups that you can call on if you feel that you're not getting the juice. Ask Kuan Yin, please help me to see myself through your eyes, right? This is the idea, to see ourselves through the eyes of the beloved, through the great mother, through the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of compassion, right? So that we see ourselves more clear. So we keep the phrases going like a waterfall. Mind wanders, come back, the vision of yourself, the phrases, and I'll be guiding some of it. I'll be quiet sometimes, but then other times I'll be doing the practice with you. And that's the idea. And try to stay centered in the heart. Okay, so try to keep bringing your awareness back to what's happening in the heart center. Okay, even if you don't feel anything, that's okay. You might feel sad, you might feel anger, you might feel numb. Those are all purification aspects we just keep offering, keep offering. The practice takes on its own, right? The heart wants to be free. The heart wants to be boundless. That's its nature. Okay, so let's tap into that a little bit. So find yourself in a comfortable position. And it's good if you can sit upright, but I do understand somebody's body may not cooperate or it might be pain. But we like to have you sit up only because lying down, slippery slope to being asleep, everyone, right? We know this. So we just try to practice how to elevate our heart a little bit. And let's just begin by taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And allow yourself to just begin to gently, almost as if you're bringing your spirit in through the crown of your head, coming deep into your body. This is a body-based practice, even though we're doing these phrases and visualizations in our mind. We want to feel this energy. So let's start by doing a quick body scan. So feeling your head and your neck, and maybe you need to move your neck and head a little bit and just relax with each moment of loving awareness. The body will settle on its own. So maybe you need to move your shoulders around, feel your shoulders. Often we carry unconsciously the weight of the world on our shoulders. And as you breathe in and out, maybe on the inhale, breathing in peace on the inhale, just saying the words. And on the exhale, breathing it out. And softening your arms and your hands. And notice how your hands are placed. And just feel them very gently. Now bringing your awareness into the heart center. And take a breath in. Imagine you're breathing right through the center of the heart. You're breathing in peace on the inhale and then peace on the exhale. And softening your body. Let your body be just like water. If you feel tension, bring your awareness there. And now bring your awareness into your belly, right under your belly button. Take some deep belly breaths. And see if on the exhale, you can release any tightness or clenching or tension. Let your belly be soft. Anything that we're holding in the belly, we just invite everything just to soften, release, expand with the breath. Let yourself settle. And now feeling your sitting bones, where you're making contact with the chair. Feel the ground under you, or the floor, the bed, wherever you're sitting. Loving awareness. And feeling your legs now. Bring your awareness to your knees. And feeling your calves and your ankles. And now feel your feet. The bottoms of your feet and the tops of your feet. And feel yourself as a whole unified field of energy. And just allowing your whole system to just relax, your nervous system, letting any tightness or tension just dissolve through your awareness. And now bringing your awareness to the center, back up to your heart. And as we begin the visualization, just begin to pull up an image of yourself. It could be in this very moment. And try to see yourself through the eyes of Kuan Yin, the great compassionate Bodhisattva, through the Great Mother, seeing yourself and just wishing for your own happiness. As we begin the phrases, you might use the words, may you be happy as you're looking at yourself, or you could say, may I be happy and peaceful. Just allowing each phrase to be its own medicine. Each phrase is different. May I be safe and protected. You could also place your hand on your heart at any moment, or take your left hand and rest it in your right hand as a way to feel more deeply your intention. May I be healthy and strong in this body. And may I live with ease and joy and well-being. And allow yourself to continually soften throughout the practice if you feel tension. May I be happy and peaceful. See yourself smiling, or say your name or nickname if that's helpful for you. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. Sending a love to your body and just kindness, friendliness. It's alive, a living system. It responds to every word. May I live with ease and joy and well-being. And so we really want to keep connected to the image and the phrases. It does take concentration, so just go at your own pace. on your own for a little bit here. Stay connected to your heart. It can help to imagine yourself very young. We see the light, our child selves, whatever is easiest, whatever generates the sense of friendliness, the feeling of friendliness. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. And may I live with ease and joy and well-being. Stay connected to the image as best you can. Keep softening your body, soften the belly. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. And may I live with ease and joy and well-being. Keep coming back to the phrases. You get lost, just begin again. Placing your hands on your heart can be helpful. A gesture of connection as we direct this friendliness to ourselves. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. And may I live with ease and joy and well being. And stay connected to your heart, your breath, softening in the belly. Seeing yourself through the eyes of the Great Mother, through the eyes of compassion and love. You could say to this image of yourself, may you, dear one, be happy and peaceful. May you be safe, protected wherever you go. May you be healthy and strong in your body. May you always live with ease and joy and well being. However, you use the words, just keep holding the visualization of yourself. And may I be happy and peaceful. You could also say, may my heart be happy and peaceful. May my heart be safe and protected. May my heart be healthy and strong. And may my heart live with ease and joy and well-being. And staying connected for a few more moments here. Other words may come, just offer anything and everything in the spirit of friendliness to yourselves as practice. Seeing yourself through the eyes of the beloved, the angels, the devas. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong. And may I live with ease and joy and well-being. And then I'd like for you to begin to imagine that this light of metta is coming through your heart, is beginning to expand beyond the field of your own body, to include all of your family and friends and your co-workers and community members. And see if you can see all of these, your pets and your loved ones and children and grandchildren, and may our families and communities be happy and peaceful. And extending out to include everyone who's on this class call tonight, practicing. May we all be safe and protected. And expanding out to include everyone in the country. May we all be healthy and strong in our bodies. And as we extend this metta, we just keep going out farther and farther, other parts of the world and continents and Asia and Africa and all over Europe. And we just send this metta. May all beings, all of the children, the mothers, the grandfathers, the grandmothers, may all beings everywhere be happy and peaceful. Including Mother Earth. We see this great, beautiful spirit, Pachamama, Mother Gaia, be safe and protected. We just send this metta out to all four directions, to the sky, to the ground, to the universe, to the animals, to the spirit world, the ancestors. They will all live in ease and joy and well-being. Wishing the sun and the moon happiness, the universes beyond all universes, all of creation. We send this metta. May all of creation live with ease and joy and well-being. And when you're ready, you can put your hands together. I always like to end the practice with just putting my hand together at the heart and just bowing to yourselves, to your good heart, to your practice, to however it was, hard, easy, distracted, loving. We bow to it all. To our good hearts. So beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. That was a good one. I was feeling my heart get these, whenever I feel it's like these pains, it's like love pains, you know, growing pains. I guess that's a word you can say, growing pains. And yes, if you need to stretch your body for a moment here, let yourself do a little massage No. I used to have this Qigong teacher from Germany when I was younger. His name was Franz. And before we would, or I think this was after we did the Qigong, yeah, sometimes before, he would have us stand up for long periods of time and rub our heart. And he would say, rub the furry animal inside of you. Rub the furry animal. He would say it for a long time until we all would be laughing. We'd be like, and I guess that is true. We are furry animals inside here responding to life that is just so powerful. And I like, hi, Peppermint. What a great name that is. So we do our practice, and I always cry a little bit because I just feel so much in the field right now, and it's like love and compassion, and wanting all beings to be safe and protected, and and it can feel sometimes overwhelming to have an open heart right now, right? Everybody, we want to shut down, but the thing about it is, hatred is contagious. And so is love, right? So as we begin to practice more, we influence each other. And when we do this practice together, I always talk about this in every class, the law of resonance, right? Is that we are in this ecosystem together. And when one part of the ecosystem starts to bring their heart awake, starts to practice, starts to feel, starts to care, it can feel scary, right? There's so many walls, and a lot of us have been through so many difficult moments with love and with kindness and with friendliness, and sometimes we give up on it. And then people say, well, I'll give up and I'll join the villains, right? They seem to be having a party right now, right? And it's like, that's definitely not the way, though, right? That's a path to suffering. The Buddha used to say, or Ajahn Chah used to say, there's a path to more suffering, and there's a suffering on the path to the end of suffering, right? There is a certain suffering that we have to go through when we're waking up, right? And there's a lot that we have to feel. And so when you have this metta practice mixed with your other practices, your insight practice, your mindfulness practice, it gives you the spiritual juice that you need. And I often talk about that. And so tonight I wanted to talk a little bit. It kept coming to me every week as part of this class. Somebody always pops into my mind. It could be a great saint, but more I've been wanting to share our homegrown saints with you, because sometimes when we talk all about Maharaji or the Buddha, it's like, yeah, but they were enlightened. What about, So I was thinking about that a lot. And I was thinking about moving to Georgia and leaving California after I lived my whole life and coming to California. And I'm out of California to Georgia. I'm starting a church here in a nonprofit. And I'm using the church as a way to reframe what is the church, right? It's a church, in the highest sense, like a church. And I started to think about all the churches that I had visited in my life. And I started to only think there was only one church that I felt like had that true spirit that I had spent time at, of metta, like that spirit of metta. And so for those of you in California, there's Glide Church, and it's not the same. And I want to talk about Reverend Cecil Williams, because I had I turned 51, but I was introduced to Glide Church when I was 13. And Glide Church is in the Tenderloin district in San Francisco. And it was started by this beautiful pastor. And he started his church right in the heart of where everything was going on. There was prostitution, there was drugs, there was homelessness, there was tent cities, always in the Tenderloin, right? It was a place of a lot of suffering, a lot of addiction. And most people ran away from the Tenderloin, right? Because there was so many things happening there that were brutal. And so Reverend Cecil goes there and he starts this church and he starts this huge outreach ministry. So I want to tell you how I was introduced to that church. It was actually because I got in trouble for shoplifting. And I had all these community service hours. And I got in trouble when I was 13 because I had no money. I was actually trying to get a Valentine's Day present for my then boyfriend. So I walked into a Macy's and I was like, oh, he would like this. And I proceeded to put it in my bag and leave. And all. Anyway, they gave me all these. So my mother was so mad. It took me to a jail. Actually, I wasn't treated well at all, but that's how it goes when you're, in getting in trouble. But I remember they assigned me like, I don't know, it was hundreds of hours. So my mother was so angry with me and she drove me on Saturday morning to Glide Church and was like, you're going to work this off and then clean the kitchen. And, she was. And I remember being excited to go, actually. I was like, wow, look, this is a cool place. It was 8:30 in the morning and already there was hustling happening up and down the street. In my mind, that was kind of exciting. I was like, oh, okay, this is different, And so I went into the church and we were setting up for the lunch service there. And I remember when I went into the church, I just loved the people because the people who were in there cleaning and who were doing the services, everything was volunteers, right? And the people who were in there were people that had the most epic stories. Many of them had cuts on their faces. They were former prostitutes and addicts, and they had been living in such suffering, but Cecil rescued them. So they always would tell me these stories of like, I was face down in the gutter and then Jesus pulled me up. And then I saw Cecil there and he walked me into the church, and they'd be like crying, and their whole lives were changed. They were like, I haven't been on drugs in 1 year and 2 months and I'm healing my life. And I remember just crying. I loved these people so much. Some had missing teeth and scars, but they had this love, right? And I was like, oh, this fire for service. And man, it was, when people have gone through hell and survived, it can open them in a way that nothing else can, because there's this gratitude for existing, right? And their whole lives were dedicated to the outreach. Cecil just started the AIDS outreach ministry, the homeless ministry, the food ministry. And I would go on Sundays too. I started catching the BART train back by myself on Sundays to go to the services. And back then they had the choir, and the church was so ahead of its time because there would be everybody in that church. It was like all colors of people. There'd be trans community and people in drag, and there'd be little old ladies with giant hats, and there'd be Norwegian families visiting San Francisco. There'd be Asian communities, and it was like we were all there and we would be singing, and then Cecil would start talking about God's love. That's all he ever talked about. And everybody was included. I remember sitting in the front seat of the front pew and just crying and thinking, oh, this is like real love. This was metta. And so I remember I spent the whole summer serving food and being with these people, and it forever changed my life because that's when I really learned about compassion. I didn't understand that I could love people that I didn't know. Like I loved these people, the people in the kitchen, the people in the food line, the children outside. I just would cry and cry. I just felt so much love. And and the feeling was that the compassion was a feeling that I wanted to reduce the suffering. So compassion is this feeling of love turned towards pain. It's love, actually. It's this love that wakes you up and it makes you want to serve. right? And Cecil stayed at that church as the leader of that church for, I think, like maybe 30 years. And then it got passed on, but there was something about his unconditional, non-judgmental love that included everyone. It was so meta. It was like the sun. Nobody could come in there and be turned away from anything. It didn't matter what you'd done, what you'd been through, what you experienced. And it was just that kind of love as like my grandmother. It wasn't like heavy Bible thumping. It was all he talked about was meta, basically, right? And he called it God's love, or however you want to think about what this meta is. But there's something very powerful. So a whole movement started around him, right? And all these other, he got funding. It started off very small. Some of you wrote that you'd been there as a child too. And when I was there, it was in the 80s. It was in the height of the AIDS pandemic, right? So there was a lot of people outside that were sick, and they had meal delivery services and care providers and a nurse outreach team. And, you know, they were just holding space for that. And so I was thinking about that today, everybody, because as I drove by a church today, the temperature went so cold, and I saw rows of people out in front of this church, and they were under blankets. And there was something about Cecil and seeing that. I've already been thinking about, what is a church? What kind of church are we going to be? What are our values? What is it based on? What can we do? You know, are we scared? You know, are we scared to open our hearts? Are we scared to serve? So I was thinking a lot about that. When I saw all those people and I saw the door closed, it made me sad, right? That all the doors were closed up and they were just under, I don't know, it just reminded me. So what I'm bringing up tonight is that we want to practice love also, right? Like, this is the church of love. Have you practiced with another being today? That's very important, right? At some point, we heal our hearts and then we take it out into the world, right? We shine it out. And I think what I've been missing hearing on any media is those acts of love and service that other people are doing. All we're getting bombarded with is like hatred and delusion, but it's very hard to piece through and know that, believe that there's thousands of people doing thousands of kind acts. Still, love lives on, right? It's an unstoppable force. And I just want to encourage us to not give up on it. It can seem like the sun will never come out when we're in the winter, right? It's like every day is a dark day, every day is a rainy day. And then all of a sudden, right, it starts to rise again, right? And we can't give up on kindness. That our practice is about healing our hearts, but then it's about, how can we make the world better? How can we make the world more wonderful? And I don't think we have to create a whole church in the middle of the Tenderloin. I don't know. I can't do that. That was Cecil's call. Cecil could do that, and he did it beautifully. And he had this cute little wife. I think she was from Japan. I'm not sure where she was from, but the two of them were always together, and she would have these fancy dresses on and be right there with the pots and pans and she would come in and just, this was their life. It was like, we're here to love, serve, and remember. There's nothing else to do on this planet. What are you going to do? Keep collecting money? That can help for a little bit. Yeah, that's one thing, but we have to really think about, what is it like to have a meta heart in action? So I want us to think about, as we do these practices, that we're in training. And you can train for a long time before you run the marathon, right? Somebody might have to train and train and train and train. And then one day you're like, I'm ready for the 18 miles or the 26 miles. In a way, that's what meta is. It's like, we're working out. on these evenings. We're growing our capacity, and don't underestimate one person with a huge heart, the soul force that can be unleashed. Sometimes we doubt our own power. Do you know what I mean by that? One person's heart, one being can do tremendous good, right? So each day we're training. So I want you to think about this, because I dedicated 2025. Well, really, I dedicated my whole life. But you know how we like to break these up into chunk, bite-sized pieces, was really about the heart. The heart practices, the heart medicine is coming back to this, but not doing it without wisdom. Right? We need to also balance it with wisdom. My teacher, Jack Cornfield, who many of you might have worked with, he always talked about heart wisdom, right? The wisdom of the heart. The heart always knows what's true. The mind gets in the way, does it not? Right? The heart knows that person's not good for you, run for the hills. But then the mind's like, well, or, the heart says, don't go down that path. You don't want that job. Don't do that. Right. And when we ignore it, it's like, oh, then all these tangles come. Right. But the heart has a wisdom, and we are learning how to listen to that wisdom and not the insanity of the mind. And I think what happened to me was that summer I spent at Glide Church in the kitchen working off all those hours was a life transforming moment for me. For me, I felt that was God's love intervening, right? Reminding me of what is important. Even at 13, I understood, right? My life is connected to compassion. I want to live this. I want to be that. I want to be a person who walks through this world thinking about how to make things better. And so I've gotten away from the service component a little bit, and I realize I want to come back to that here in Georgia. Like, how can I serve, not just online, but like almost direct hand-to-hand service again? Right now, we're all like kind of so used to being one step removed from everything. Like, we don't really have to engage as much as we used to, because we can just go on our phone. Hello, can you send this to my house? Thank you. Goodbye. Right. But there's something about being in the community, right? That engages us, where we're in the meetings of people, we connect, we see things, we see our humanity, right? So there's a little danger in this isolation era, right? And but we can still continue to grow. So I wanted to talk about that with you tonight, and also share another story. And then I'd like to take some questions and see how you're all doing tonight, see what's on your heart and mind. But I wanted to also share a little bit about how Metta is helping me, because I want to just acknowledge that a lot of us maybe have grown up with a lot of trauma. And I know for me, my mother and father had so much trauma, and then they didn't know how to raise their kids. I didn't see them for long periods. Even right now, I'm experiencing a big thing with my mother again, just around what happened, how we were raised, and all the things that went on. So my family has always been, I'm going to write a whole story about how dramatic and messy that is, but it has forced me to find a love within myself, right? And even now, going through, as many of you know, I've been in my road of trials. There's nothing like trials and tribulations and suffering to wake the heart up, right? Because you have to depend upon something bigger than what the ego can understand. So I want to just mention that as part of what reminded me about Cecil was I would see him at the end of church hugging everybody and reminding people, you are loved. Like, whatever has happened to you, whatever you have gone through, right? That there's a love that never can be distinguished, never can be taken away, extinguished, never can be. It's like it's our true nature. And so I realize for a lot of us that are going through family problems, the holidays can be hard for many of us, that the metta practice actually restores a love that we may never have received. That's really it. Like the love that we might not have gotten from people that we wanted. We can do this practice and give that love back. We can restore that. Does that make sense? And that's why I encourage people to do the practice with different ages in mind, because sometimes you might be doing it for your 3-year-old self or your 10-year-old self or your 18-year-old self or your 35-year-old self. And every time you're visiting that, you're restoring something that was not balanced, right? Something we needed. And I'm not saying that it does everything, right? But it can, I notice that the more I've done that, the more it has restored me on many levels, right? The love I felt like I didn't get from the family, the parents, the mother, father archetype, right? I can generate that for myself. And there's a great power in that. There's a great kind of resiliency. And we have to just be wise with that, right? There's a wisdom in that. But I just wanted to remind you that, because it also used to remind me of what Cecil would tell each person, like, you are the light. You are the love. Everything you're looking for is here in you, and I just always thought how profound that would be to hear, each time over and over. I'm just remembering our homegrown saint, Cecil, who's our ancestor now. May you rest in peace, Cecil. I'm sure right now he's in heaven doing some kind of beneficial activity on behalf of all beings somewhere in some dimension. Because remember that we have momentum with that, right? So let us think about this as we go out into our lives. Like, how can we be a benefit to somebody, right? Let's start remembering the service, acts of service again, right? Who can we help? Who can we support? Could even be very secretly, right? As our metta in action, right? As we take this heart medicine out and express it. Because unless we start doing that again, the world is going to feel more and more jagged, more and more harsh. Is that we are the ones warming it up out there. So, okay, so I want to pause here and see what anyone like to share, or you could also put questions for me or Baba in the chat. But I would love to hear if anyone wants to share about how it's going. How are you doing? How is your practice? Questions, reflections. How was your, I see lots in the chat window, but I just wanted to open up. If not, I will continue, but I just want to open it up to anyone. You're all so quiet tonight. You should always have lots of questions or some reflections. That would anyone like to share? How about our favorite scientist, who is called the Buddha? I think I might call on you, our dear Robert. He's probably like, I was just meditating, but Robert, do you have any words of love and compassion for us? Maybe Baba, we could unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. I'll just type in to ask how important it is to always remember that the chances of me existing is practically impossible. But that is saying I am so rare that I am highly, highly important to always remind myself about how rare I am, and consequently the amount of love that I have internally and externally, if only I can look for it every time.
Oh. And Robert, how do you keep your heart so open? You have so much love. Everyone talks about that.
Well, it's just to remember that my whole body has trillions of cells. Each one of them to put it together is extremely difficult. And so if I have that amount of knowledge and intelligence, I just have to constantly look for it.
Mm-hmm. And the heart has its own intelligence. We've been sending these articles back and forth, Robert and I, about the wisdom that they're discovering. The heart has its own brain. You were sending me that. And how do we access that?
Well, I'll just go back to what I think have been saying over and over, to remember that we are endowed with love. I never told my body how to grow my cells. I never told my body how to heal. I take medication. However, if the medication doesn't have the fingerprint of my body, it doesn't work. So it's my body doing it first before the medication do anything. So to always go back and remember that wisdom that is embedded in our physiology is incredibly powerful.
And very loving, right? In the miraculousness of it, the divinity of it, right? Yeah. Oh, thank you, Robert. We love you, Bob and I, and everybody. Okay. Well, does anyone else have anything else to share? We will call on other folks if you have something else to share. And Robert is a scientist, and we were together when we had our bus accident. So I know a lot of you have been following that, and we're both in our healing journey together. And it is amazing how the heart, this natural wisdom that science is showing us. And I like to talk to Robert about the DNA levels and how our hearts are connected, and how there is only one heart. Like, we're accessing this global heart. So some of you, if you're interested in the science of metta more, you can check out the organization Heart Math, MATH, and they are in Silicon Valley area. And it's made up of groups of cardiologists and physicians, where they talk about how this heart has this resonance, right? The heart actually can feel when something's going to happen before it happens. You ever had that feeling like, oh, something's not going well, or something's about to happen? It's like the heart's already processing it. And also, I've been reading all these studies and trying to tap deeper into what is that heart wisdom. And I really believe when we meditate and we're focused and we're putting our hands on our heart, everyone, and we're intentionally activating it, we are starting to open the door to that higher wisdom. My heart, I trust my heart 10,000 times way more than my mind. Oh my God, my mind's vision. No, the mind is like a child, but the heart, now we're talking deep roots. So when I'm led by something, and that leads me to sometimes having to wait, where people rush me on things, but if my heart's not there yet, I can't just do it with my mind. That ends up being a disaster. Like, I have to get that yes in my heart chakra. And Baba and I talk about this a lot as we move into the future with this project in Atlanta. We said, if the people around us are not resonating with that love and compassion, no matter how great they seem, we cannot work with them. Because we've gone down a road where someone had all the skills, but we couldn't feel their heart. Disaster later, okay? And then we're like, well, how did we get all tangled up in this mess? And it's like, well, we knew we could. We knew that person didn't, we knew it. We talked about it, but then they seemed so perfect. Well, there's no perfect without the heart chakra, right? There's just a work in progress. So we have to remember that we're works in progress, everyone. The Zen master, Suzuki Roshi, you know what he used to tell everyone at the San Francisco Zen Center? He used to say to students, you're all perfect, but you have some work to do, right? But you have some work to do. And we have to just know that about ourselves, that we are practitioners. And for me, I am practicing all the time. It's not a check off. Open heart done. No, this is a constant evolution of layers. And so I'm just so happy that we get to do this journey together. So thank you, Robert. Robert, you could say so much more. I feel like you one day I'm gonna have Robert give you a DNA heart talk. Right now he's what do you call it? We're deciphering Harriet Tubman, the Dharma in our church. We're creating this download. We're trying to get the deeper messages, heart messages, right? So thank you for your wisdom, Robert, and your help. So Baba, would you like to say anything before we end our class, or any words of wisdom? And Baba is our beautiful, beloved manager.
Oh, hello, namaste.
Namaste.
So, yeah, it's always beautiful to do these heart practices. I still notice that for me, it's a very tender place to go into the heart, and just from so much of it, I find I have to root into my first chakra when I'm getting into the heart, because sometimes it feels like I'm lifting a little bit too fast upward. So for me, it reminds me when I go into my heart to also remember my root chakra, just to stay in my body a little bit more. But it's for me, it's a very grounding practice to remind me to love, also just being in this body and this personality, So sometimes it's easy to get kind of caught um moving out of myself.
Yeah, yeah. It's like we have to acclimatize to the frequency of the heart, right? Because it's a high energy. When we're filled with love, you and I, we just start bouncing up higher and higher. We're like, wait a minute, we have to get back. Sometimes Bob and I have to put hats on to get back down on the ground. We realize like we start. And so, yes, we want to anchor that. So, thank you for reminding us about the importance of grounding it when that bliss or that joy starts to take over, and we disassociate. And then that's not good either. It can seem fun, but we want to ground it. So, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. Any other questions in the chat or anything like that? So I want to mention also a couple of things, everybody. So Tuesday nights, we're always going to be here. I've cleared my schedule. I made a joke for next 10 years. And we'll start sharing the class more as we go. And also we have recordings. So if you're on our weekly reminder, you'll also always get recordings there that we can share with you. So if you miss the class, you can get it. Also, I do have several retreats coming up that I'm going to be putting out online. I have a really beautiful retreat in Big Bear, California. It's with my friend Henry, who just wrote a book about the heart. And we're going to be doing chanting. And that's in June at Big Bear. It's like a heart medicine bhakti devotion retreat. I also have Lotus Vine Journeys. If anyone's ever interested in doing plant medicine and metta, I have a retreat coming up in California where we'll have ceremonies as an 8-day in Mendocino at a beautiful center. And we will all be doing these deep heart practices with medicine. So you can check out my organization, Lotus Vine Journeys, for those retreats. But I also have several meditation retreats coming up. All this is going to be uploaded onto my schedule. And I also will be putting out a bunch of more day longs and all kinds of things, workshops I'll have coming up. So keep checking. If you're on our mailing list, you'll get that. Also my website. And yeah, it's about the commitment. So reminding yourself at any moment you can do metta. You can do it at night before you go to sleep. I often do it when I feel anxiety, right? When I feel like, oh my God, I have so much, and I might feel like a wave of it. I'll just start and put your hand on your heart, and you just start, and you'll notice your whole body will, right? You'll feel like you're starting to regulate your nervous system through metta, right? And it's just a process. So you can do this while you're out walking, anywhere. And also just a reminder for anyone who would like to support this work of metta and our church and all the stuff that we have going on, you can always make a donation. This is a class that is offered freely. And I just want to make everything I do so available. So that's another thing about our Georgia project is I just don't want finances to be a barrier to anything anymore. I feel like that's the old program. That's all the thing I like about our church model. It's like, here you go, pass the basket. And then, it somehow miracles happen. Cecil never ran out of money and he had 1 million projects. It was like a miracle, So I think there's something about also believing in the love of compassion fuels it. So I'm trying to move into that frequency where like love is the fuel of this because it's about being present and loving. So remember, we're here to love, serve, remember. And thank you, Robert, for being with us. Thank you, everybody. I see Tony out there and Crystal and Jill. Thank you all. And so come back next week. And thank you, Baba, so much. And if you need anything, you can always reach out to us. Thank you, Peppermint. Yeah, you can turn off your mutes. let's unmute and say goodbye to each other.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you all
Bye, all.
next Tuesday. Thank you, Katie. Thank you.